Well, hey everybody, it's Tuesday. I'm only going to be here for a few minutes. We'll let you know what's going on. Jeff's going to be here. He's got a guest coming on. We're going to talk about some things. I don't know why I'm. Peace, y'all. Yeah, we'll be right back.
Paying too much for trucking insurance? What if you could save more by making one simple phone call and keep more profit? You could very well do just that with one simple call to Seabright Agency, 800 366 6466. Call now. With over 30.
Now, here's a question that all owner operators and small fleet owners should consider. What happens when you access the unrivaled advantages that are available through the ES Advantage program? We asked Jeff and Charley from Contractors Corner to share their thoughts on how they've been able to utilize the discounts and services that are a part of the ES Advantage.
Your business will make you money if you do well at that business. And ES Advantage in trucking, they do really well at providing those services. So the effect that ES has had on our personal trucking operations, not even talking about what we do on the consulting arena, I've been able to save thousands of dollars a year in fuel because of the relationship with them. I have a new accountant that I work with, trucker CFO, that I learned about from ES Advantage.
They're giving you that 10,000 yard kind of support from behind that creates a way for you to succeed, which is one of the things that we love, because anything you can do to help someone succeed is going to help them succeed. They make money by making sure you make money.
Now, if you're an owner-operator or small fleet owner and you would like to learn more about how you can drive savings to the bottom line of your business, the ES Advantage program has the discounts and services that deliver the kind of unrivaled advantages that are designed to help you improve your overall operation. Get connected with the ES Advantage today.
So we seem to be having some technical issues today. Jeff's not down there loaded up yet. Our guest is, but I don't see a camera on him, or his mic is muted, something, I don't know. We're gonna have to see what's going on here. I'm over here in Wilcox, Arizona at the Loves, hoping you guys can hear me okay. Uh, I'm only gonna be here as long as it takes to maybe stumble through a couple things. Wasn't planning on being here at all, but a couple things worked out just about right. So hey, let me know if you can hear me all right for starters. That would be most helpful. Hey, I see Rob. He's got a picture. Rob's got a picture. That's all right, man. We're just waiting on Jeff, Rob, and we'll get you in here, man. I don't know where the hell Jeff is. I think he fell out. He must have fallen down some stairs somewhere. I don't even know. He's gonna be the special guy today, but that's cool. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, I think I have a little bit of a delay going on, but I think it's gonna be okay. I think we're gonna make it through it. Yeah, so by the way, just to throw it out there, James Vaughn was the first guy more than 24 hours ago. Just want to throw it out there. I don't have it saved. But it was funny because he's like, "What the hell are you doing 24 hours in advance posting this?" And I thought it was kind of funny because I didn't know that I was going to be here at all. Uh, I'm, I've got two expedited loads that I'm fighting a clock on, so I had just enough time to kind of pop in here and see what's going on. And I don't know, man. We'll have to see what the heck's going on with Jeff because I still don't see him, and that's weird. And he's not answering texts or anything. And I'm wondering if he just stroked out somewhere. That sounds terrible. That's not even funny. Don't joke. Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, Rosie said boo from the back. Hey, you quiet down back there, woman. Stay. You get in your cage. You stay there. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. Don't. It's. Oh, hi. There she is. He said, Chris said, "Hi, Rosie. I see you." Chris Hamilton. She said, "Middle finger, bad words, middle finger."
Liar.
Yeah, pretty much. But it sounds better when I say it. I'm just saying. Although it's much more fun to actually say all the words that I get in trouble for not for saying, but I'm not supposed to say, because that makes total sense. I don't know. Matt said hi, Rose. You know what? She's not on the show, so you can just ignore her. Feel free to pretend like you you know what?
Hi, everybody.
Everybody loves you, whatever. It's disgusting. You know, you are prettier than me, kind of. Oh, did he go there? Oh my, that ain't right. Jeff, where are you, man? I am fumbling, and what the hell is going on? Rob, I want to bring you on, but I feel like Jeff needs to bring you on. So hang tight, man. I love it. Rob's playing with backgrounds. It's awesome. Hey, man, those virtual backgrounds will make your ears disappear, and it's weird. I'm just saying. But hey, you do you, man. If your ears disappear, I'm gonna point it out and be like, "Look, his ears vanished," because it happens. It's weird. I don't get it. It's an odd thing. Virtual background's weird. So anyhow, I hope you guys are doing well. I had nothing ready to talk about at all. Um, yeah, it's been a day. Any of you that came through El Paso this morning, I hope I hope you didn't have to. It took me like an hour to go 2 miles on out the west side of El Paso. That construction over there is ridiculous. I don't understand what the problem is. Yeah, seriously, it is absolute crap. And where in the hell is Jeff? This is awesome. I'm going to Phoenix, Chris. I got to be there in a few hours. Jeff had to move the truck. That's funny. I'm going to giggle on that. He just texted me finally. Just let the ADHD do it. It's for real, James. Like, right? I mean, look, I scored on this quick pull through spot here too. I was like getting ready to set up. There was this back over here, and I was like, oh look. And then I ran inside, and I was expecting to see Rob and Jeff like in the studio already, and I was like, oh look, they're not even here. Man, I win. I'm awesome. Um, Not that it's competition, but everything's competition, right? Uh, For real, James, the ADHD thing. So I talked to my neuro guy today, and he finally wants to talk to me about my head stuff. He believes there's some links there, and I'm just saying, I'm like, oh, it's only taken since 1993 for anyone to actually acknowledge this fact. But whatever, that's VA Army medicine at its best, just doing their thing. Um, Jeff is still doing a thing. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll Hi Donna. Look, I understand spotty internet. I don't know what your man's doing. He said he had to move his truck, and I'm glad I logged in so we weren't late, because these wonderful people that are in the chat would have been giving us so much static for being this late. Because now Jeff is only 8 minutes late with
Hey, now,
no. I don't see a picture on Jeff. It's just, oh, there he is,
can you hear me?
kind of. Can you hear me?
Perfectly. Let me
So
switch
I
my
don't know.
audio
I
here.
don't know if it's my I don't know if it's my connection or your connection, but somebody's connection is wonky. I can't move screens, so maybe it's mine. I was trying to swap us sides, and it's like, nope, not gonna do it.
What about now? Hello,
I
hello.
hear you.
All right.
Hi.
Hey, so
It's just
adventures.
choppy. Your internet is interesting today.
I have 5G ultra wide, 4 bars.
All right, you guys tell me who's choppy. Is it Jeff or is it me? Because I don't know what's happening.
I am running an APU.
Oh, Charlie just went black. All right, so I don't know where we're at. Charlie's out running actual freight. He's working today, which is kind of weird, right? Everybody, let me know if if I cut out or anything. So, because Charlie is out in the wild, Matt, am I still freezing? I see a comment that I'm freezing. Am I still freezing? So, I got a special guest for you today. His name's Rob. He is a small fleet owner, and I'm going to let him tell his story a little bit. But, a lot of people have asked, hey, how about running a fleet? How about starting a fleet? How about building a fleet? So let's bring Rob in. Hey, Rob, are you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jeff. Can you hear me?
I can. Awesome.
Perfect.
So, like all great entrepreneurs, Rob has great hair. I'm just going to put that out there. So, Rob, you and I first met at the Expeditors Expo last year.
We did.
And then we met again at the site, which was a conference held by ES Success in Trucking. And we started talking about different things. And what fascinated us about you is a couple things. First of all, you've been able to build and maintain what we consider a medium-sized fleet of trucks. And it's a mixed fleet. You don't just do tractor trailer. You have some straight trucks. You have some tractor trailers. So tell us, you're in the expedited business, which is completely different from what most of our followers do. Most people are either in reefer or dry van line haul freight. So what is different about expedited versus what I used to do, basically?
Yeah. Just want to say thanks for inviting me. I do appreciate it. I don't get on these things very often, but good to be on here and good to have these talks. The biggest difference that I can tell everybody that you would see between your general trucking and expediting is the guarantee side of things mostly. There's only one guarantee in expediting, and that is the fact that there is no guarantee, right? So you never know where you're going. You never know when, what time. I always refer to it as kind of the 911 services of the trucking industry. And we're such a small niche within that major industry that it takes a lot of patience and learning and understanding how the freight works and operates. You don't have freight lined up most of the time, back to back to back. You don't really know where you're going or what you're doing throughout the week necessarily. And it's kind of a game. It's a chess game. And the better you can play that chess game, the more successful you can be in the long run.
Right. So full disclosure, everybody. So most of our viewers already know that Jeff burned his boats about 2 weeks ago. I turned in my Swift truck early, and more to come about that. I am going to owe Swift some money, just so everybody knows. When you terminate a lease early, there is money that needs to change hands. So when you find an opportunity, don't just blindly say, I'm turning in my Swift or I'm turning in my JB Hunt truck. Do the math and see if it's worth it first, because this isn't just $10 that I'm going to owe Swift for this. And Rob, you got to know me a little bit. To me, the contract is the contract that we sign. So when you make a change, it's got to be worth it. So full disclosure, Rob's fleet is the one that I burn my boats to go work with, so that I can learn this new side of the industry. And one of the things so the side of your fleet that I'm going into is the Panther side. And I was fascinated by their orientation and what you were talking about just now, the whole rolling of the dice, if you will, the chess game. Panther will get loads as close as 90 minutes before they need to pick up. It's like they'll get a call from their customer and says, yeah, we need this size truck at this location in 90 minutes. And they're like, okay, we'll get on it. That doesn't happen in regular OTR line haul.
It doesn't.
And so you kind of have to be ready to go at a moment's notice. And yeah, that's really fascinating to me. It's going to be interesting to have an OTR line haul guy come in and do this, I think. Rob's people have been really good, kind of warning me that there's going to be a learning curve, right? Because it is a different business. So can you tell me, so Rob, you have more than just one or two trucks at this point. How long did it take you to actually grow a fleet? I can't imagine that it was an overnight thing.
No, it definitely wasn't. It was definitely something that was kind of started on the side as a side hustle. I ran myself for a short period of time to get to know and understand the road a little bit. Started back in 2007, actually doing a little bit different than expediting, but we didn't actually move into the actual technical expedite side or space until 2011. So we had a few years under our belt to see some other sides of things, and then it was kind of a buddy that wanted to get out there and do it, and we ran for a short period of time, and then I had to kind of get off the road, had some other obligations that I couldn't be out there constantly, and it took a short break, and then he decided he wanted to go back out solo, and I said, well, I'll grab another truck and you go out, and I'll take care of this side of it. And he did his thing, and then we kind of just grew from there, I guess. One truck here, two trucks there. We had a gentleman that was going out of business or retiring and wanted to get out. So we ended up buying out his entire fleet and doubled our size, and then did that several other times throughout the years. And just slow growth is kind of the key and ticket, I think, to this industry, but consistent growth. So you got to have the right people, you got to have the right staffing. It's definitely not been an easy road for sure, but lots of things to learn and think about, and hurdles to cross.
Right. So, so you ran just your truck, you drove, and then almost kind of fell into this thing. Fleet ownership among the people that listen to us, people talk about it, but it seems like nobody actually knows how to actually do it. Because, when you're talking about, so right now I'm in a straight truck for the next couple of weeks, and then I'll move into a tractor when one's available. These straight trucks are more expensive than a tractor in many cases. So you don't just go down to the dealership and buy 30 tractors or 30 straight trucks. It all starts with one step, the decision to actually grow a fleet. What would you tell someone, as you know, most of our viewers these days right now are Swift guys, what would you tell someone their first step should be if they want to actually grow a fleet and maybe get off the road themselves someday?
Number one is you got to learn the business. You got to learn and understand how it operates. So many people jump in thinking it's just, picking up and delivering freight, and there's so much more to it than that. Understand the game that you're playing. Like I mentioned, the chess game, and which lanes to stay in and which part of the country to go to at what points in time. Paying attention to the economy, paying attention to what's going on in the world makes a huge impact on where freight's good and where it's not, as it does in the entire trucking industry in a sense. Even more so though with expediting. You take a look back a year or two ago there where we had all the ports being jammed up. We didn't run trucks to ports very often in expediting. But when that took place, we were running coast to coast nonstop, pulling containers and pulling shipments off the ports. So it was, again, things like that are things to pay attention to. And as a company, those are some of the things that we try to pay a lot of attention to, so that we can pass that information along to, or we can communicate with the motor carriers, and then pass that information on to the drivers and help with their success.
Yeah, I remember at the expo last year, there was a number of owners that were there for the expo that left early because there was a fire at a pharmaceutical company.
Yep.
And they had the opportunity to go down there, grab all these pharmaceuticals that had to be temperature controlled to a place where they could be temperature controlled. And they were getting rates that were insane to do that.
Yeah, when it comes to bonuses and things, those are the times that hit it and hit it hard. It's not a Monday through Friday gig. It's catastrophes, I hate to say, are kind of one of those things that we thrive on a lot. And knowing and understanding those is a good thing for sure.
Right. So one of the things that we talked about today, because it's one of our soapbox items, so I'm going to bring it up with you, is how important understanding the purchasing of fuel is in any operation. Because you and I were talking about how some of your drivers, they just don't get it. And we were talking about how to maybe get them to understand what a huge difference it could make if you actually purchase fuel wisely versus, oh, there's a Love's and I need a shower point.
Yeah, 100%. That is, like we talked about earlier, that is a major break or make part of it. It really is. Understanding that, I think we discussed the different parts of the loads and the way they paid. And, some of those are constants, right? Some of those are negotiated ones, but the fuel side of things is where you can so easily fall apart on if you're not paying close attention to it and really getting that entrepreneurial thought process involved in it, and knowing and understanding that that's your business and that's what's making your bottom dollar either look really good or look really bad.
Right.
And a lot of people get scared when it comes to fuel, and the fuel prices, and they see these big shiny trucks and how much fuel goes in them and how much they burn. Well, you're getting paid for that fuel too. So when you're getting paid back for that fuel and burning that much fuel, you have to know how to weigh it out and how to control it and manage it. And that is, again, like I said, the make or break point. And I think you and I talked about it today, having a couple, training sessions on some of that stuff, or a little bit more frequent training sessions on that may be a big key and help in a lot of ways for some of these drivers.
Right. So we have a lot of our guys that are using the ES Advantage fuel card. And one of the things that I personally try and get them to do, so when you're contracting to a fleet like Rob's, it's a little different. But when you're out there with your own deal, right? We load up the ES Advantage fuel card ourselves, and we manage that money. And this is something that came up with us as well, is getting that mindset going beyond just this week. So what we look at is how much money do we put on that card to get our truck down the road for at least 3 weeks? Because as you know, with the system that we're on that card, there's a fee for loading the card. And the fee is higher if you use a credit or debit card than it is if you do ACH, a direct bank transfer. And it's a substantial difference. It's like a 3% difference on the fee. So you want to try and cash flow it, right? You don't want to be paying that fee every week for the debit card. You want to cash flow it and use the ACH, because the ACH takes about 3 days to go through, whereas the credit card takes, 60 minutes at this point. But if you can cash flow it, you're saved 3% on that. Over the course of a year, that's a lot of money. You know, so trying to think beyond that 1 week, and I get it. Believe me, I do, Rob. I mean, half the time, Donna and I, we're paycheck to paycheck just like everybody else. You know, it's tough to get to think beyond this week when, you know, you got bills due next week, right? But, you know, have you seen a difference in your experience between people that stay on that week-to-week mindset and the guys that can think, you know, on at least a monthly basis instead of week-to-week?
100%, yeah. And we, again, that's something we talked about earlier today is, you know, we want to try and start them out on that week-to-week side and then graduate them to that biweekly or monthly or quarterly type of mindset. But I think because of the fact that the fuel doesn't always follow the load, and in our program, things are a little bit different. We don't have those extra fees and things like that. And we've worked hard to try and find different avenues to go so that those fees were either just didn't exist, or our company was able to take on those fees without passing them on to the drivers. I think it's important to get the understanding, though, from a week-to-week basis, and because it's such a smaller period. We're always trying to educate drivers that you need to think about last week and what you did, the miles you ran, and the revenue you incurred last week. Mm-hmm. That's going to tell you and give you an idea what you're doing this week. But when you're working this week and paying attention to what you're doing this week, you're thinking about your future week. So the next week. So those 3 weeks all play a major role in it. And because of the fact that the fuel doesn't really follow the load necessarily, and the way that the load's cut off from the motor carrier week to week on those certain days, if you have a big load that runs past that period and all your fuel is on the back side of it and the load pays out on another side of it, they're not going to even out quite right. So that's not the easiest of concepts to always understand. Right. We try to lay it out and draw it out the best we can to help drivers and educate drivers on how that works.
Right. So a couple shout outs here. We've got a new person on our live today, Saturn Tutorials. He just started his owner-operator journey with Swift. Congratulations on getting into a truck. So on our YouTube channel, if you go to the actual channel itself, there are a set of videos that are listed as for new owner-operators. Highly encourage you to go watch those, because we dive a little bit deeper into things like fuel purchasing plans, how IFTA works, and boy, that one's a tough one, Rob. Trying to get people to understand how IFTA actually works.
That's
the
a
cheapest,
whole other part of it.
The cheapest pump price isn't always the cheapest fuel price. And
right.
People, you can waste a lot of money in a year if you don't understand how to do that.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, you know, I'm gonna call you all out. You know, our tens of watchers that I would brag to you about, Rob. Everybody's always asking, what about growing a fleet? When are you going to teach us how to grow a fleet? We have a fleet owner here. Ask your questions, guys, in the chat. He's here now.
I bypassed that question you asked a little while ago, and my recommendations. But learning the business is key for starters, and potentially starting under a good, sizable fleet owner to learn how everything operates is always a good foot in the door, in my opinion, before you take that.
So one of the interesting things about your operation, Rob, and you could just do this if I'm talking too much, but so you said something in your part of the orientation for your company is that you're handing people a turnkey operation to get people into the expedited services industry.
Correct.
And I love that that's where your mindset is. Um, and so far, I've only been, I'm here at your headquarters, I guess you could call it, your yard, your building. Um, and everything that I've seen so far supports that mission to help me at this point get into the expedited business. I've got a lot of experience driving trucks over the years, but I've never done expedited. So, yeah, and
Are you excited?
I am.
Good.
I am. I've told people, I said, part of what I'm doing, I was making money at Swift. Don't think I wasn't. It's been a little rough since the downturn. I mean, especially for solo guys on OTR line haul, because the lows just aren't there. You've seen, you know what the market's doing, Rob. It's terrible still.
It is.
But you can still make a living there. It's not like it was during that COVID high, where we were looking at our logbooks wondering, okay, do I have enough roll-off hours to actually do that one? That's not happening right now in regular dry van land. So doing what I've been doing for the last almost 20 years, you get to a point where you've kind of done it and you get into this rut and you kind of get bored, to be honest with you. And so if you guys are at that point, I know a lot of our group members, some of our group members, Rob, have been driving for 25, 30 years. And, if you've been driving that long, you're probably getting close to retirement. I get it. But, if you're starting to get bored, look at some of these opportunities that are out there. Rob is just the fleet owner that I know personally. I've met several fleet owners from, 10 trucks to 300 trucks operations. And if you can find one that's willing to actually take you under their wing and teach you how to do something, that's gold. That's worth burning the ships for. I don't know if do you know who Kevin Rutherford is, Rob? Used to be on the XM radio.
Yes, I do.
So there was a time in his career when he was much younger where he actually worked for a guy for free for 3 months. Why? Because he wanted to learn how to do step deck over dimensional. And he went to a guy, I think his father knew him or something. He said, I just want to learn the business. I want to learn how to do all this stuff. How about I just work for you for free and you teach me? And he did that for 3 months and then he went and bought a step deck and did it himself.
Yeah.
And killed it. Now, I'm not saying you got to work for free for someone, and that's not my offer to you, Rob. Just so you know.
Well, thanks.
But find a mentor, find someone that's willing to take you under their wing and teach you the business. One of the things we see, and one of the reasons we do what we do, is at the mega carriers, they don't do that. So we've stepped in to fill that gap, to teach people the business and get them profitable, at least within that first year. And a lot of it honestly has to do with the AB5 type laws out there. A lot of carriers are really gun shy with contractors right now. They don't want to do too much because, are they really contractors if we help them too much? So that's the dirty side of all these lawsuits and arguments over who's a contractor and who's not. I just like the freedom of saying, hey, even with you, Rob, I could tell you to go pound sand on a load.
Yep.
Company driver can't really do that.
Right.
I'm a contractor, so I could say, you know what, it just doesn't meet my business model. And you might shake your head at me and say, dude, you're an idiot. Yep. But at the end of the day, it's my decision to make.
100%.
Yep. And that's really the difference that I love about being a contractor versus an employee. I succeed or fail based on my own game of chess. How good is my game of chess versus someone else's? And, I don't compete against other people. I compete against myself. You know Cole Morris, the trucker CFO. And as I was interviewing him for the job of my CFO, which we do around here. I told him, I said, I can tell you over the last decade or so, I can go through my books and tell you, I did really good this year. I did a little better that year. Something happened this year. And you know what? I can tell you what it is because I remember what happened that year and I didn't make as much money. But I made this much money the next year, which made up for that year. And that's a piece that a lot of people miss, is the opportunity when the year is said and done, when the taxes start being done. That's when you find out what you really made. And you can start thinking, okay, I did okay. Can I do better? What can I do better next year, in the next 6 months, to bring that bottom line up just a little bit? And Charlie and I advocate for, we look for half pennies, dude. We absolutely look for half pennies. As a matter of fact, I just analyzed the tires that you use on your trucks. So everybody knows Rob is using Goodyear tires on his trucks. I assume that's because of the discounts you get through your contacts.
It is.
Not terrible rolling resistance. Probably isn't going to affect your straight trucks at all. But there is a 20-point difference in rolling resistance between these tires and the Bridgestone 713s.
We also
on a tractor, which on a tractor does make a difference because you've got dual axles.
Yeah.
On the straight trucks, Charlie and I discussed it behind your back. And we don't think it's probably affecting what I'm seeing set up on your straight trucks. But on the tractors, maybe, especially when you start talking about a fleet of trucks. So yeah, we look for those half pennies because half pennies turn into pennies, pennies turn into dimes, and dimes turn into dollars.
That's right.
Especially, with fuel as high as it is, everything's gone up. I remember when I first started this journey, I had a 2007. You'll probably remember these 2007 Kenworth T2000. I loved that truck, man.
Remember them well.
Didn't have DEF. That was a bonus. But so the first time I had to replace tires on that truck, it only cost me $2,000, and I was getting the top line Michelin tires. Now those tires are like $700 a piece.
I was gonna say you get 2 tires for that now.
Yeah, exactly. But again, so also, and I point this out to people all the time, when I had that truck, our base rate for line haul was only 87 cents a mile. Now at Swift, it's $1.15. So we do also get paid more, but things cost more. It's kind of one of those things, So one of the things I wanted to ask you, and you can answer or not, as you've grown your fleet, and this is the next level business stuff that I want to get into, have you found your negotiating power with carriers increased as your fleet size increased?
Yes. And a lot of them have incentives as well.
Mm-hmm.
To increase the size of the fleet. So all of those are motor carrier specific and are all over the board. But the better your individual relationship is with those motor carriers, I feel personally like when COVID first hit and everything first started going south before it started coming back, the expedite side was one of the first probably in trucking or in transportation in general to come back. So it was good for us, but I feel like when it really went south and everything came to a halt, I feel like because of our relationship, we kept our trucks running and moving. And that was very, very thankful for that.
Oh, absolutely. Reefer Madness wants to know, what load board are we using? So the part of Rob's fleet that I'm involved with is leased on with Panther Premium Logistics. And that is all expedited. That's all they do.
Yeah, so just to go a little further with that, the motor carriers that we choose to do business with are primarily all customer-based motor carriers. So all that freight mostly comes from that customer base. They have strong, large sales forces that keep that freight moving. So we're not really working off load boards per se, because and not knowing what you're getting a hold of that you find a lot of times on load boards.
Yeah, people that run actual like DAT, things like that, they've been taking a bath for about the last year.
Yeah.
I'm seeing rate cons from guys that run DAT specifically that are below $2 a mile for dry van. And these are guys, their own authority, their own trailer, all that stuff, all the expense of having your own authority, and they're barely making more than a Swift guy. So that's one other thing that people don't get is a lot of guys will tell you, oh, I made $250,000 last year. My guess is, Rob, you know what I'm going to say about that. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
What'd you pay taxes on? Because that's what counts.
Right.
That's the money you actually made, is what did you pay taxes on? And even that is kind of stupid because of all the deductions we get to take as contractors. So, what went into your bank account? What was your W-2 income? That's the real test of how well you do.
Yeah.
Because I know guys that are pulling $3 a mile freight all day long, but their expenses are so high that they're only making like 80 cents a mile profit. And then I ask them, how is that? Well, you don't understand it. I'm like, no, I don't understand it. These guys tell me I have to make $2 a mile just for my truck. And from my way of thinking, now keep in mind, I've never gone out and got my own authority, Rob. There's a reason for that, and this is why. The expense, if you have to have $2 a mile to turn your key on, what happens when the predominant rate in the market is $1.80?
You fail.
Yeah.
Fast.
So, this is something I never asked you, Rob. So in expedited land, now I'm solo. There's also team expediters. So what is the average length of haul that you see?
So on a straight truck, you're probably going to see 500 to 800 range. There's obviously going to be those big ones. There's going to be those small ones. And it's really all over the board. And the ones that you choose is the important part of that, because you're working towards a goal, whatever that goal to you is. We kind of have a set standard on what the mileage that we're probably looking for the week, for a solo driver, in a straight truck, for a cargo van, for a team straight truck, and for a tractor trailer solo and team. We kind of have a base mileage that you want to go after, and just because if you're sitting at 2,000 miles for the week and then another 1,000 miles comes at you, and this is where what I talked about the fuel, the same comes with the mileage. You're looking at the week past, the week present, and the week future. You may not want that 1,000 mile that comes at you. You may want to wait for a 500 mile run, because that 1,000 mile falls outside of that week and puts you in a bad spot to start your next week. So you may look for that smaller load to try and get to, say, 2,500 miles or 2,600 miles for the week versus the 2,000 or 3,000. You're going to be stuck at the 2,000 and not really get 3,000 for the week, even though it got offered to you. It doesn't deliver to the future week.
Right.
So,
and if you're thinking long term, though, Rob, that's not a bad thing if you understand that in the end everything evens out. But if you're a guy that's living week to week,
yeah,
that's a decision you got to make.
It is. Yeah, and then it's really individually based in how somebody really wants to play that and how it works for them, for sure.
Right. And, I was actually surprised at what you showed me, that and this is another difference in expedited. The mileage that you expect out of your trucks is lower than I expected out of my Swift truck, but the contract's different, right?
Yeah.
And again, I could be lounging out, sitting in my truck watching a movie, and all of a sudden Panther's got a load offering for me, and it's a good one. I gotta go.
Yep. You gotta be able to drop of a hat, just get up and roll out.
And so what a lot of guys are used to in regular dry van land is, oh, the planner says he's got this stack for me, so I know what I'm doing for the next week. That doesn't happen in expedited.
No.
So there's a little more adrenaline involved, I think.
There is, for sure. Yep.
I think there's a lot more trust too. My mood to this, people that know me know I don't make this knee-jerk decisions. I had met you twice and talked to you and got comfortable with you before I said, hey, that offer that you had, let's go for it. So there's a trust there. I think more so than in a mega carrier line haul thing. I'm going to trust that your fleet will actually come up with the freight. There's a trust issue there that has to be solved before you go do this.
Yeah.
Because again, I can't call Crystal on the East Coast, who's someone I know that plans trucks for Swift. Say, hey, what can you do for me this week? Expedited just doesn't work that way. You got to trust the system a little more, I think. So
you do, for sure. And that can be one of the most frustrating things, I think, because there's that downtime that the unknown of what's happening during that downtime. If you don't keep yourself occupied, can get you in a lot of trouble, get that mind moving and thinking and thinking all the bad stuff. And patience is key, and trust.
So Sean, you knew I was going to do this. Sean, this might not be the gig for you. Sean's one of our guys that spends money every time you sit. He's doing really good though. He's doing, and this is something I looked at as well, Rob. I don't know if you've ever been this far in the business, but doing the bulk grain hauling with 40-foot hoppers.
I'm not.
Yeah, that's a pretty lucrative operation he's got going over there. He got hooked up with a guy to teach him the businesses to do that.
Nice.
So he's learning that, and I think he's doing really well for himself. There's definitely a learning curve going on that we're observing when we talk to him. But I think overall he's a lot happier doing that than he was doing line haul. He could make just as much money running solo doing that he and his wife made doing team on line haul van freight.
Yeah, that's great.
So it freed his wife from the truck. so that's never bad when you can give your wife a break.
Yeah, which one made it happier?
Yeah. Well, those two, man, if you ever meet them, they're definitely two peas in a pod. Those two, they actually egg each other on to do weird things in Vegas. Yeah, Matt, we've talked a little bit about this. If my other half comes to drive, I will go team with her. So, since I have you here, people, if you are looking for a change, Rob's got a couple trucks that he needs filled. What was it? 3 straight trucks that need teams.
3 right now. Yeah.
And man, I tell you what, a husband and wife, or at least a committed couple, they do the best at teaming because it's all going into the pot for them. They're not splitting that revenue. And boy, they could just kill it. So yeah, that's my plug for you, Rob.
Appreciate that. Same household teams, definitely, and we may be able to get some sign-on bonus money out of those too. So,
yeah, you asked me about teaming, and I told you that I'm not a very good roommate, and there's another problem for me. So this is something that you guys need to consider if you're going to make a change as well. So Panther does not have very much freight going to where I live or coming back out. And to find a teammate that at least lives in Utah that I could just drive home in my little minivan when it's time for home time, probably not going to happen.
Probably not.
So that's an issue. But it's a totally different business model, Rob. And I'm running numbers, and you and I did a little bit of this. If the contract that you're looking at is lucrative enough, and this is more common, I would say, in car hauling, there's guys that they'll park their truck on the East Coast and fly home.
Yep.
And then fly back and get their truck.
Yep.
I think in this economy, especially, if you find a good gig that's going to pay, think outside the box. You don't have to take your truck home.
Right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's cheaper just to jump on a flight, with depending upon where you live, obviously. So we see a lot of drivers come through from Florida, places like that, where you can get to Atlanta or Knoxville or whatever super, super cheap, less than $100 round trip. Park your truck, you jump on a flight, head home. It's a heck of a lot cheaper than deadheading or getting a load down to Florida and then having to deadhead back out, because as we know, Florida never has good freight coming out. But depending upon where you are in the country, we see a lot of drivers that even non same household teams, one driver will go on home time and he'll just hop out, in a location that he knows he's heading to Atlanta. He checks out some flights. Hey, it's a good time to go. Goes home for a few days, and that co-driver will just run solo, and not get too far away from that area for when he comes back. So there's different ways to make it work for sure.
Well, and I already told Donna that we might need to do that. And it was one of those, wait, what type of moments for her? Because again, we've been doing the same thing for almost 20 years, but when I run the math, to get back in a lane for Panther, I might have to deadhead as far away as Chicago. And if I can get a flight from Memphis, which I checked it out today, for $198 round trip, and spend a week at home,
you may want to work your way to Memphis instead.
That's less than the fuel it would cost me to go from Salt Lake City to Chicago.
Absolutely.
And you and I talked about, the carrier. If I went home with the truck, they're not going to pay for me to deadhead back into market. That's on me. You can't expect that. They'll do some deadhead moves if you deliver in a bad market and they need to move you, they'll move you. But if it was, I need to go home. I'm coming back out. How much will you pay me to deadhead 2,000 miles? They're not going to do that.
It's a good segue to one of the questions I saw pop up here, but kind of the primary freight lanes for expedite is we kind of look at the triangle from Chicago, Illinois to Laredo, Texas to Atlanta, Georgia. That triangle is kind of your main, where the most freight, expedite freight is seen. The further you veer out of those, the less likely or the less loads there are.
So Trucker Tim wants to know, why not just say box truck? And I actually don't know that. Since we met the guys over at ES Success, they've just called them straight trucks. So we just figured that must be an industry thing. Is it?
So a box truck, when you talk about a box truck, you think about a Penske truck or a Ryder truck or something along those lines, U-Haul maybe. A straight truck is still a Class 8 truck. It's a tractor with a stretched frame with a box on the back of it. So that's where that major difference is. And they're 33,000 GVWR on those. So hopefully that answers that straight truck, box truck question.
So there is actually a technical difference.
There is very much.
The other thing that surprised me talking to you guys, so you also have cargo vans, and I asked you, do people actually make money in a cargo van? Because it never really occurred to me.
They actually do, especially the solos. And we even see some teams come through in the cargo vans. They're not a bad little gig. The same challenges really that you see in the straight trucks. we have in the cargo vans, managing fuel. And more so, honestly, with managing fuel, I would say in the cargo vans, because of the fact that you can jump up and you can run through the McDonald's drive-through, you can run over to Walmart, you can do this, you can do that with, and run all your local errands in this little bitty truck, and it's not a big deal. So people are burning fuel and then don't really understand, that's actually affecting my tool that I use for business and costing me money when I do that. So with under the Panther fleet, the hours of service are actually regulated on those trucks. So you roll your tires and, guess what? You start your clock and you're not going to see the miles that you wanted to see on your next load, most likely.
So is that normal to regulate that size of truck?
And not with all motor carriers, no. They all regulate them in a sense. Some of them are based off of mileage. Some of them are based off of hours. It depends on how big the company is.
Because you remember that show, Freight Wars, with the guy that had the gooseneck hot shot, the guy that had the tractor, and the guy that had the cargo van. I really liked that show because it was completely unrealistic, but I enjoyed it.
Actually,
but the guy
I think it was pretty real. The problem was the unrealistic part, I think, was, gosh, I can't remember that website now, but you would get to the freight and it was nothing like what it was described to be.
Right. But you remember there was that one episode where the hotshot guy got pulled over and ticketed for not having a logbook.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, how do you not know that if you have a DOT number on the side of your truck that you probably ought to be logging something? Yeah, that was interesting. Sounds like Reefer Madness is asking a lot of questions here. Do we see the rate cons? So let me tell you what I've seen, and then Rob can expand. What I've seen is when they offer a load, the total money that's paid out is disclosed on that load.
Yeah.
So the fleet owner, Rob, takes his cut, you take your cut, and you have to know what your contract is to know what you're actually getting paid, and do a little bit of math.
Yeah.
So did I get it right, Rob?
Pretty much, yeah. A common misconception that I see a lot is that a driver will say, "Well, that load didn't pay enough, so I didn't take it." Well, with the Panther fleet, why I don't understand why I didn't pay enough. They all pay the same, right? It's just whether it's the amount of miles that you run versus, but they're all contracted at that same rate. So
yeah,
it's at the end of the week.
Yeah, so you gotta choose how you're gonna run. I would say a lot of people need to learn how to make better decisions.
Yeah.
So we have a super fan. I actually love this guy, James Vaughn, but he's giving me raspberries for going over to Panther. He's an anti-Panther zealot.
I saw the Laredo comment.
And yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Golden Triangle, and Laredo's part of that. And we've seen it at Swift too. When I was at Swift, Laredo's been dead for a while. But so he and I kind of had it back and forth a couple of weeks ago, and I had already learned enough about Panther where I'm wondering, because he was claiming there's guys, he sees Panther guys down there that have been there for a week, and I'm like, well, with the way Panther does things, why the heck are they there for a week?
Yeah, so it kind of depends. Cargo van. So Panther now has a facility actually in Laredo. So it's we don't see Laredo to me is not a black hole like it once was probably 6-10 years ago. It's actually we have a few drivers that they'll deadhead to Laredo from Dallas or even further north than that at times, just because they know they're getting freight out of there. It depends on the truck size. It depends on if it's a team or a solo. It depends on the day of the week. but there is freight movement out of there, and it's not as scary as it used to be. Nebraska, on the other hand, is still a scary one. We've been seeing a lot more freight going out that way, and a lot more drivers taking freight that way, and we're like, no, you don't want to do that. But it's a long deadhead back to Chicago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it changes over time, and that's one of the biggest things. You can't base everything off of what you once knew years ago, or even last week for that matter. I mean, this industry is changing constantly. Like I said, the motor carriers that we deal with are primarily customer-based motor carriers, and you got to put yourself in their shoes. There's salesmen out there that are trying to make money by selling freight, and just because Nebraska was bad last week doesn't mean they just landed a big contract this week in Nebraska. Now we can pull freight out of there constantly, right? So things are constantly changing, and it's important to keep an open mind.
Well, you and I were discussing about how my bread and butter for the longest time was getting to Dallas, Texas. If I could get to Dallas off of home time, I could run for weeks. Well, Dallas has become kind of a black hole.
It sort of has.
And nobody can explain it to me why, but it really has.
Yeah.
It's weird. I used to get excited to go down there. Even Laredo, like before for line haul, you might sit there for a 34-hour reset, but all the loads out of there were like 1,500 miles.
No.
So, okay, I'm going to sit here for a day and a half, but I'm going to be going up to Chicago now. So why not?
I actually sat in a meeting last week with some of the motor carriers regarding Houston and Dallas because we were seeing a lot of trucks deadheading or empty moving, as we call it, from Dallas to Houston. Like, whoa, why is this happening? Dallas, yeah, I know it's been slow, but Houston's even worse. Well, Houston has been on the uptick here recently, and even though their load counts are about the same, Dallas and Houston, but Houston seems to be popping a lot more often. So
I've been seeing more
change constantly.
I've been seeing more Panther trucks at a specific place that I would pick up a lot in Houston, out in Baytown. They package the mobile motor oil.
Okay.
I've been seeing more Panther trailers in their yard. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the case anymore. I haven't been down there in months, but I think it had something to do with that slow production for a while. And so like the auto parts place, they needed their stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it probably had a lot to do with it. Automotive took a major tank there for a little while.
Yeah. So, boy, Reefer Madness, you're on fire today. Let's clear something up real quick. If loads all pay the same, I'm choosing cargo man. So all the loads in a given contract pay the same.
Correct. Yes. Depending upon the type of equipment that you're in.
Right.
But the 200-mile load pays the same as the 1,000-mile load as a base rate per mile.
Right. At Trucker Tim, so Swift now has their own load board, kind of, sort of. I'm not a fan, but they have one. He's seeing a lot of loads out of Fort Worth on the load board. That's really good. I'm glad it's starting to pick up. I'm glad that the load board's actually working now. It's been a thing, Rob. If I'm going to talk bad about Swift at all, it's going to be that stupid load. That's taken 3 years for them to actually do, and it still doesn't do what it needs to do. So I'm glad it's working better now, though. What's the truck cost and what's the pay rate? So that's going to depend on contract, though. If you were to go to any carrier on your own, you just call their recruiter and they'll tell you what they pay. You talk to ES Success and Trucking and they'll tell you how much you could get a truck for. I think Panther does have their own leasing program, don't they?
They've started something, but I think it's still through the ES program.
Okay. So yeah, I could tell you that these the straight trucks, they in many cases cost more than a regular tractor. Especially when you start getting into I haven't seen any temperature controlled ones in your yard. Do you have any of those?
What was that?
Do you have any temperature controlled straight
We
trucks?
don't. No,
Okay.
we don't.
So when you start looking at those,
the place that you'd want to see the temperature controlled stuff.
so when you start getting into that arena, you're talking about $350,000 trucks.
Yeah,
They're really nice though.
they are.
I mean, the one that I'm in right now is not temperature controlled. It's got a standard sleeper, just like I had in my 22. You start looking at those FedEx Custom Critical guys, and they've got the extended sleeper. You know, I've seen some of the custom jobs. I got a chance to see some of the custom jobs at the expo last year, and man, they've got full kitchens in there, marble countertops, all sorts of weird stuff in those things.
They are nice.
You're gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
So you
And
got to
we've
ask
got
yourself,
them in our fleet that are dry box as well.
do you?
We do.
So yeah, you gotta. The main thing about a truck, and people need to get this through their heads, because we see a lot of guys. I'm gonna become an owner operator. Why do you want to be an owner operator? I want a red truck. Okay, so go to work for Knight. All their trucks are red. You know, I mean, I don't want to disparage anybody, but man, that's just not a great reason to get into business, is it? You know, my personal why, which we haven't really gone over, is I just love the game, Rob. I like that challenge, and it drives my wife nuts because, as you know, there are times when I don't make money. But I kind of get off on, okay, I'm in this hole. How do I get myself out? You know, that's a real reason for being in business. Or you do like Rob and you grow a small fleet, and you get to the point to where you're managing your fleet from your office and you're going home every night. That's a pretty good goal, I think. So I can tell you why Charlie first started. He's going to love this. He's probably laughing right now. So my why has always been the love of the game. I just like business. My first business was actually when I was 9 years old. And I went around my neighborhood and asked people, hey, do you have any used newspapers you want me to take away? And I took them to the recyclers. And the recyclers paid me for those newspapers. So I provided the service of getting rid of people's newspapers. This was before all the mandatory recycling stuff. This is in the 70s. And I can still tell you that the best price I ever got for my newspapers was $125 a ton. So I just have always kind of seen myself as a business person, even though I spent many years as an employee. But, you know, you lose sight of the dream sometimes. But Charlie's reason was he wanted to take his truck home. That's why he became an owner operator. And then got into it and actually liked it. He actually had a fleet of 3 or 4 trucks at one point. So here's a question that hasn't been asked yet, but should have been, guys. Come on now. When you have a small fleet, now all of your people are contracted to your company, and your company is contracted to the carrier.
Correct.
How do you deal with employees if you want to go the W-2 route?
It would be tough to do. We don't have any control of what happens out there. You as the driver are the ones talking about the freight, negotiating the freight, discussing the freight with the motor carrier. We don't know what you're carrying. We don't even know the addresses that you're going to. We know the city and state. That's all we see on our side. So, you know, there's a lot of things that can be challenged when it comes to that employee versus contractor in that sense. But I just don't see with this business model that a lot of us are doing. I don't see us being able to make it if we were to be forced to go to that.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at it in the past, and I can tell you exactly why I never had employees. Messing with the W-2 side taxes,
Yeah.
That's a killer.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can pay someone as a contractor enough to make up for that tax burden they have, I think you both come out better.
Yeah.
So here he is, Wimpy McPoe, with man with a million excuses. How are you? He's our resident gotcha guy. More expensive trucks, more unpaid deadhead. What's the advantage of expediting? So I would not say that it's more unpaid deadhead than any other carrier. Even a Swift, they're not going to pay me. I mean, so Rob, when I was done in Phoenix with my meetings there, that's when I made my decision to burn my ships. And I deadheaded my truck bobtail home 650 miles to West Valley City, Utah to turn it in. Because I had so much stuff in that truck, I wasn't going to turn it in Phoenix. I'd have to rent a Ryder van to take it all home.
Right.
Do you think Swift paid me for that move?
I'm highly doubtful.
I had a family emergency about 2 years ago that required me to get home. And I bobtailed from Opelika, Alabama to Salt Lake City, Utah. Do you think Swift paid me for that deadhead? No.
Doubtful.
It's on me. But that's my privilege as an owner-operator.
Yeah.
Excuse my French, Donna, but I'm going to say it anyway. My wife doesn't like it when I swear. When the shit hits the fan, I can go take care of business. Much better than a company driver can. I'm not waiting for bus tickets or a plane ticket or however a lot of carriers, they will fly you home for a family emergency. And I think that's great. But as an owner operator, I'm more free to say, nope, I'm not waiting for that. I'm going home.
Yeah.
I got to get home for my daughter, my son, my wife, whoever, and just go. Now that's uncompensated. I have to pay for the fuel. I still had a truck payment that week that I had to come up with. And that's where saving some money in the bank really really comes in handy, when those emergencies happen. Yep, that is true, Trucker Tim. I do tell people that. You could get into serious trouble if you had a small fleet and didn't treat my drivers like employees with W-2s rather than as contractors with 1099. So I still stand by that. But here's where I've been proven wrong. How much control do you have over your employees' lives? So with Rob's fleet, where I'm starting, it's Rob's truck, but I'm contracted to him as a driver. But I'm responsible for everything but that truck payment and maintenance, 100%. I will have more on that as I learn more. Because Rob, forever, I have believed that the W-2 is the way to go if you're going to hire people. I've very rarely seen an operation where I'm like, yeah, that kind of works as a 1099. You're responsible for fuel. You're responsible for everything but the truck payment and the maintenance on it. And you have the same freedom as if you owned the truck. I think that passes the litmus test. So I know you got to go here pretty soon, Rob. You have any final words of wisdom?
Again, I would just reiterate, if you want to grow a fleet or be a fleet owner or even get into the expedite industry, the easiest, smoothest route to take is to find a good fleet owner. And I say a good fleet owner because there are, as everyone knows, I'm sure, a lot of rough around the edges ones out there, to say it nicely. But one that's going to teach you and show you the ropes. One that's going to does this for a living and not as a side gig, like we started out. One that's going to give you the insight to whether or not you can be successful or not. And we are happy obviously to take any of those people on and show them the ropes. And if that's what you want up front, we've got lease purchase programs in place, where we've had drivers come in and end up purchasing their vehicles from us because it was just an easier route. They didn't have to go through all the financing deals and things like that. We've got drivers that have bought multiple trucks from us over the years, and that's just the path, and decided to stay after the fact, and either purchase another one or just keep their truck on. We've had drivers that own their own trucks that already and want to make a change, and come in and learn the business under our umbrella, where they have that cushion to be able to figure out how to run the business and how to learn it. So yeah, check us out.
Yeah, if you want information about Rob's fleet in particular, drop a comment and we will respond to you fairly rapidly with more information. Well, thanks, Rob. Again, I know you got other things you got to do. I appreciate you coming on. It takes a lot of trust to come on and show where it's just two jackasses on YouTube. So
bring me on, Jeff. Thanks a lot.
All right, man. You have a good one, and we'll talk to you probably tomorrow, I would imagine.
I'm sure we will.
All right. So that's Rob, everybody. And so yeah, what do you guys think? It's a different thing than most of us have done in the past. I know that certain guys out there have it in for Panther, but I'm telling you, like I told you a couple of weeks ago, I'm not going to focus on the people that failed in a business. I'm going to focus on people like Rob that have been successful in that business, and I'm going to learn from them. And you can take that to the bank. When you find someone that's actually willing to take you under their wing and teach you, that is worth gold right there. So let's see if I'm sure I missed some comments on here somewhere. Up where I didn't know if people could hear me. I don't know, people are asking Donna what's for dinner. Who knows? Chris Hamilton, you haven't been to the Southwest yet? Like Georgia and Florida and all that? That's interesting. Stay out of Florida. That's my advice on that one. Georgia right now for Swift is a little iffy. If you end up there, try and contact Sue Smith and find out who's planning that day and get with them and see what they've got. Matt Nissen's claiming he's learned about women. I'm going to call you out on that one, Matt. And because I joined late, I don't even know who was first. Somebody put on there who was first. It was probably Craig. I don't know. Oh, Southwest. I probably read that correctly, but my brain did not translate it correctly. So, Southwest. California's a little tough. I think it's picking up a little bit. If you're in Phoenix, just go to the terminal and go into the owner-operator building there and talk to them directly. Because a lot of times they will get you loads that haven't quite posted yet. And Jerry, he'll look like into the next day to see what's coming up. Now the thing about that though is when they do that for you, just be aware that those loads are not on the load board yet for a reason, because they've booked but not been confirmed. So you got to be aware of that. Don't get your hopes up on something that's not been confirmed. So James was number one. Holy cow. TK with his bah humbug. So have you guys read Think and Grow Rich? Have you? I know I mentioned last week that it's free on Audible right now. It's an older version, but it's free. So TK, did you know that humbug used to have a totally different meaning? Yeah. Dale Carnegie used to say, if you want to know what the humbug is, ask somebody that's in business. James Vaughn was first today and I was second, Trucker Tim says. Where's the owner operator in Phoenix? So it's, if you're a driver, so you're coming in from the big parking lot where we park the trucks, when you're going into the driver's lounge, it's behind the driver's lounge. Past all those Costco trailers, that building out there. There's a breezeway between two buildings out there. I can't remember what the building number is, but it's the one on the left, out by the street. James was first 26 hours ago, according to Rosie. James, holy cow. All right, so you guys have any more questions? At this point, I'm flying solo, and you know Charlie's the big personality, man. That guy could talk about nothing for about 5 hours. Let's see if there's anything else. We got new comments. Chris Hamilton's found a load on the load board from Mobile to Ontario. I assume that's California. But doesn't deliver till next Wednesday. You know, if you're in Mobile, Alabama, you might see about T calling that in at the halfway point. Just saying. Because landing in California is kind of iffy as it is. Life on 18 wheels. I am actively pursuing my new adventure right now. If you see behind me, I'm actually in a truck, and it's not the truck that I was in previously. I'm in a straight truck right now. I'm going to run it for a couple weeks, and then apparently I'm moving into a Western Star after that. So you guys can make fun of me now. I'm going to be driving a truck that I would never buy for myself. I'll tell you what, though. So I'm talking to people in the know. They might, when they turn in their Western Stars, they might not go for Western Stars on the replacements. And the reason is all the reasons why I would never buy one. They're just more expensive to run. They're really nice trucks. Don't get me wrong. But the maintenance on them does cost more because of that W on the front. Just saying. Now, if you're good with that, you just want a nice truck, you know what I'm going to say about that? Well, I got nothing to say about that. It's your decision. It's your business. Just understand what those things cost you. Do the math. You know. I know you guys get tired of hearing me say that, but absolutely always do the math. Wi-Fi 19 Wheels says, you're going to love that Western Star. I tell you what, man, if I can make $2,000 a week in this straight truck, I might not give it back. You notice that I'm sitting comfortably. And a lot of people don't know this, but the Freightliner Cascadias, they do have an interior package that's a lot like the Volvo 880. Now, I've got a table, I've got chairs in the back. I can choose to collapse the table and sleep on the bottom bunk, or I can bring the top bunk down and sleep up there. I'm very comfortable in this truck. I just don't know how much money I'm going to be able to make in it as a solo driver, because it's in these trucks, at least, it's the teams that make bank. You know, because they can run it 24/7. And as you heard me say before, in expedited land, sometimes the expediter carrier only gets like 90 minutes notice. You know, their customer calls them and says, I need this type of truck at this location in 90 minutes. And it's got to go 1,000 miles overnight after it gets loaded. Well, obviously, I can't do that as a solo driver. That's where the bread and butter is for the straight trucks, especially once you start getting into the temperature controlled. We talked to a lot of people, actually. Well, not a lot, but several people that were doing what they call the white glove service for FedEx, and that's with the bigger straight trucks. You know, that I can't remember. My dimensions don't make sense in my mind because they just don't. But like it's a 100-inch sleeper instead of a 72-inch sleeper. It's big enough to where the bunks are actually along the side instead of along the back. Temperature controlled, really nice trucks. And boy, they kill it, but they have to be a team. They're doing a lot of medical. They do some military stuff. They do all sorts of things. So yeah. Yes, if I don't know how well my noise canceling headset works for this thing, but I'm running the APU right now. I'm comfortable. It doesn't have the it's a carrier APU. It doesn't have that extra bar thing to get the air conditioner to circulate better. You know, that $1,000 upgrade or whatever it is on the Thermal Kings. It doesn't have that, but I'm comfortable. You know, it was like 90 degrees out today, and I'm still comfortable in the truck. And you know, it's burning a lot less fuel than idling. Brian Jess says, biggest thing I've learned about my new adventure is it's not about the miles anymore, it's about the money. Right. And you know, even when you're on a mileage contract like you are at Swift, that's what it should be about anyway. How much money per mile can you squeeze out of that truck? Even though you're at a fixed rate. It should always be about the money when you're running the business. James Vaughn is back. All right. I don't know if you heard us rebutting your comment, but we did, you know. Brian Jess picked up his 2020 Kenworth T680 Friday. Had dinner with the owners of the company I'm going to lease on with. Very excited for the opportunity and can't wait to get going. So my question is, Brian, so is this a totally different business model then? And if so, are the new owners mentoring you? Because one of the reasons why I made the move I did was because I had a chance to get mentored by a guy that's been successful since 2007, right? Again, he didn't really get into expediting himself until about 2011, but he's a successful business owner. And he's willing to teach me his business. And I'm all for that. You know, I'll work for a guy and take that. You remember, we've talked about it before. When do you take a step back? Although I'm still a contractor technically, I don't own the truck. I'm not responsible for the truck. I am responsible for fuel. I am responsible for other things. I don't have a truck payment. I don't have maintenance bills. So I am taking a step back from what I'm used to. But what I'm not taking a step back from is the freedom that I had owning trucks. Because in his operation, you know, again, how he gets away with paying me on 1099 instead of a W-2. I run this truck. Plain and simple. Now, down the road, and I don't know the details yet, and I'm not sure that I'll be able to divulge how the contract is going to change for me, but I do intend on buying one of his trucks and still staying under his ICOA at Panther. And that gets me back to where I was. So one of the things I will tell you, though, is not all contracts are equal. We have in the past seen this at Swift as well. Don't think it's just this one guy or the two guys that we know that have done this. When you have a small fleet, you have some negotiating power with the carrier. One of the things I asked Rob when I was talking to him about this is, well, why don't I just go buy my own truck and I will negotiate with a carrier like you've been able to negotiate with carriers over the years. He's like, because they don't know you, man. They don't know you. Now, maybe in a couple of years, if you get a good reputation, you get a couple of trucks, then you can start negotiating rates with these carriers. I don't have the street cred for that at this point. That's brutal, but true. So one of the things that I'm looking at is how do I up my game in business? Because at a certain point, you either need to up your game or just get out. If you stay stagnant, you're going to be mediocre at best. And at a certain point, I mean, if mediocrity is your thing, then I've got nothing to say about that. If you're comfortable and you don't want to risk failure, I mean, let's be real. That's what we risk when we make changes. We risk failure. Then you do you. I made the decision that I want to up my game. I'm 51 years old. I don't have much more time to do this. And it's been a pipe dream for so many years. And Charlie and other people that know me know I'm always talking about I need to up my game. I need to up my game. Well, I just did that. I hope. There's a possibility that I'm going to be knocking on Swift's door asking for forgiveness in a year or two. That is a possibility. That's the risk, right? There's always a risk associated with getting to the next level. Brian Jess answered my question. Awesome. Totally different business model. Yes, they will be mentoring me as much or as little as I want. Too much to type, but super excited for the new opportunity. That's awesome, Brian. That is so awesome. And that's what we like to see people do. Again, if you're comfortable at where you're at and you're just like, nah, man, I ain't risking nothing. I get it. I understand. But man, think of the excitement, if nothing else. The challenge. We are creatures that need to be challenged, or we just kind of wither away and die. Charlie and I have talked about it before. How many times have you seen that dude that worked for 30 years or whatever, and then he finally retires and has a heart attack out on the golf course because he's not really working anymore. So, and what you just, Brian, just again, and what you just said about knocking on Swift's door down the road, I fully deleted the properly way. Thank you for your help, Jeff. Yeah, and so there is a way. If you follow my stuff on Facebooks, which by the way, we're going to be having more of that here coming up in the future. More posts on Facebook with some good things that we're doing. There is a way to burn the ships without burning the bridge. I totally burned the ships, man. I turned in my truck early, terminated the lease early. That's burning the ships. I ended my ability to make any money at Swift for the time being. But what I did not do was burn the bridge. So in my case, what I did was I reached out to the people I know and love. A lot of the people at Swift are family to me. Known them for so long. And I said, how do I do this without burning the bridge? And I got a step-by-step, do this, do this, do this. And I did that. One of the things I could tell you is if you're going to turn in your truck, and this goes for if you're terminating your lease early or if you're going to end of lease legitimately, like you're completing the lease, don't leave the terminal until you've actually watched them inspect the truck, please. I know I've seen a couple of messages from people over the last few weeks saying, yeah, they were just taking so long and I just went home. I'm like, no, man, I would not do that. I would say, I need something in writing that you have possession of this truck because I'm not responsible for it once I leave that gate. And when you put it in those terms, especially to say a shop manager, you put it in those terms of, okay, so who's liable for the truck then? You need to receive it back into your inventory because I'm not responsible for it once I leave that gate. Watch them jump. Now, you could do it without being a jerk. But my experience in West Valley City was awesome. The guy there, as you guys know, the first thing I do when I get a new truck is I take the passenger seat out so I can put my big freezer in here for all my keto meals that I make in batches. And I lost the base to the passenger seat. Just lost it. I don't know where it went. Seat's fine. So I took it back to him, and I just, right out of the gate, I told the inspector, I said, so there is something blaringly wrong with the truck. I take the passenger seat out in my trucks because I don't need them. I'm not a team, and I have this big freezer chest. But I lost the base plate for it, so I couldn't put it back in myself. He's like, oh, well, we're going to have to deal with that. And it cost me a half hour of labor to get that seat put back in. And we found a base plate like in the back. Like, I guess they had some warranty seats that they had that were being returned to the factory anyway. So they grabbed a base off of that. So, be honest. If you know there's something wrong with the truck, tell them. It might not be as bad as you think. The other thing, so that stupid mirror design on the Freightliners where they tend to fall off. Yeah, so apparently that's a known problem with Freightliner. And it was a warranty item, so I didn't have to pay for those falling off. But yeah, I watched him, and anytime he started writing something down, I'm like, hey, so what was that? Is there a problem there? He's like, oh, no. I just have to mark the brake thickness. I just have to mark, the tire depth. So I got away. None of the expenses that I owe Swift have to do with the turn at all. It's mostly because I fell behind on payments while I was making my decision to move. As you guys know, I do not make knee-jerk reaction type decisions. So I actually sat on it for a week or two before I turned the truck in, and that's going to cost me some money. And you know what? I'm okay with that. So, all right. So Charlie, I've made it almost an hour and 40 minutes so far. What do you think, man? Doing this solo is a lot harder. I don't have Charlie to bounce off of. So, looks like we're starting to dwindle on the viewers too. Apparently, Rob was the star there for a while, which I like. I told Charlie I was going to bring Rob on, and I got to tell you, Rob was awesome. I just asked him. He's like, dude, sure, I'd love to do that. So, Chris, I actually do not have a Swift owner operator backpack. I have a Swift backpack because Michelle sent me. I think she just stole it from the regular company recruiter and sent it to me. Still a nice backpack though, and I wouldn't give it up anyway, man. It's part of my legacy. Did Lifetime 18 Wheels say something? Oh, he's asking about the 2016. So yeah, this is one of the things we love about building community the way we're doing. So we got a guy that is interested in a truck that someone else has, and it's just coming right out here. So yeah. Don't forget though, I'm going to do a shameless plug. If you go to contractorscorner.cc, and I don't know all the whiz bangs that Charlie normally does, so I apologize for that. We do have used trucks on there. They're not our trucks; they're coming from us fleet, and they're being sold by Tony Dennis at Seabright. But yeah, if you go on there, we do make a little bit of money for a finder's fee for buyers for those trucks. But they're solid trucks, man. They've all got APUs. They come from a fleet that is insanely anal about their maintenance. They're good, solid trucks. We didn't list any that were sketchy at all. So they came with maintenance reports that were done, and those were the ones that we put up. We didn't put any of them that hadn't been gone through. So if you are looking for a truck, or they're, where are they, Charlie? If you're listening, you can put it up. They're 3 and 4 year old trucks, less than 500,000 miles on them. And yeah, they're selling for about what a balloon payment is on a Swift lease truck. Lower miles, better maintenance. I'm just saying. I'll say it. So Wimpy, I am going to let you know what the MPG on a straight truck is just as soon as I know. That's one of the experiments I'm doing. So one of the things these guys said is, because I asked them what the fuel surcharge is, all common questions. Very few people in their fleet are breaking even on. I'm sorry, Brian, you distracted me. I'm being Charlie now. Squirrels. Um, none of their guys in the straight trucks at least are breaking even on fuel. And I'm like, well, how is that? What's the fuel surcharge? And of course, it's lower on a straight truck than it would be on a tractor. Everything so just so you guys know, straight truck pays less than tractor trailer. So where you make your money in these things is doing those insane the insane miles that a team can do. That's where you're making your money on these things. So I will let you know when I know what I'm going to be tracking this truck. The first time I fill it up, I'll enter it into the fuel gauges and we'll start tracking it. It's only going to be a couple of weeks, so it's not going to be like a full 30-day test, but I'll get a good idea of what the fuel mileage is like on these things. My guess is it's better than a tractor trailer. Just saying. Max cargo weight, max weight on this thing is only rated for license for 33,000 pounds. So lighter loads. It's got a single drive axle instead of a double drive axle. So when they told me that they were having a hard time with their operators breaking even on the fuel, I literally, and Charlie will back me up on this, I said, okay, guys, challenge accepted. We'll see what I can do. So yeah, Charlie said the trucks that we have available are in the 50K price range. And so when we did the analysis of this deal, by the way, just so you guys know, and we're not in the business of selling trucks, but we are in the business of making money. So full disclosure again, we do make money if these trucks sell. We get a finder's fee for them. We were looking at them and saying, okay, what's the buyout on these trucks? My buyout on my 22 was going to be $65,000. And by the time I got to that point, I would be right at around 600,000 miles on it. Okay. Or I could buy one of these trucks for $50,000, knowing that it came from a fleet that's known for its insanely anal maintenance schedule, and it's $15,000 less, and lower mileage. Now, you know that I don't take a whole lot of stock in the mileage of a Class 8 truck. I pay more attention to how it's maintained, but still, there you go. Matt Nissa says, tornado spotted in my area. Be safe, y'all. Charlie doesn't know anything about tornadoes. Yeah, I think he went off on that last week, didn't he? Wi-Fi 2 Wheels says, left Swift 2 months ago, not necessarily for personal reasons, but I had an opportunity to fast track what I wanted to do. I do miss my old truck. Love working on her. Yeah, absolutely, man. And dude, if you've got an opportunity and you're willing to take that leap, I'm all behind you, buddy. I gotta tell you, all the stuff we do is with the whole Road Warrior Entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial mindset training that we do, is to get you guys to that point to where you can make informed decisions for your business and start thinking like an actual entrepreneur. There's this thing in the trucking industry. Oh, you're just a glorified company driver, this, that, and the other thing. Not if you have your mindset right. Not if you're thinking about what your next move is constantly like a real entrepreneur does. And maybe as an entrepreneur, you decide that for your goals, and that's a component of what we teach over there, one of your goals is to simply have a paid for truck. You don't necessarily need to own a fleet, but it's so individual. We can't even, until we meet with you guys and talk to you a little bit, we can't even really tell you, yeah, you should go do this thing. We want to hear what you want to do, and we want to help you get there. That's what we're doing. You tell us, I want to have 10 trucks in the next 5 years. All right, let's break that down. How do you do that? Step 1, step 2, step 3. Let's go over that. Let's write a business plan. Let's get you going. Yeah, and there's more than one way to get a truck. Like Rob was saying that when he sells a truck to someone, he's able to do an interesting thing because of the relationships that he has. And this is where, if you have a good mentor, you can leverage their relationships for your benefit. Now, obviously, they're going to make out all right as well, but that's the nature of business. We really believe in the win-win or no deal. That's a concept all the way back from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you haven't read it, read it or listen to it on Audible. Just saying. The win-win or no deal. You know, if both parties aren't winning, if there's a loser involved, I would recommend that you really look at in your soul and figure out what the heck you're doing. James Vaughn's got tornadoes too. Oh no, he's asking where the tornadoes are. See, I can't do this without Charlie. Charlie, you're the wind beneath my wings, Charlie. You're the wind beneath my wings. Black Rivers Falls, Wisconsin is where Matt Nissen is. Ugh. Brian just says, I never doubt myself. Okay, let me rephrase it. I never doubt my abilities to succeed, but I do often question my thought process of how I'm going to get there. And that's legitimate, man. That is absolutely legitimate. You know, you bounce your ideas off of other people. Try to find people that are a little bit ahead of where you are on the journey, that are on the same path as you, and find out how they got that one step further than you've gotten, and then listen to them. I mean, that's the thing. Listen to them. Chris Hamilton, yeah, but you're doing really good, Chris. My owner-operator journey is in its infancy, but I love the challenges that they are keeping me moving. Running out of my 70 every week, slow building my contact and planner list. And that's the key, man. Like I told Chris in the beginning, when you get that planner at Swift, it actually answers your messages with more than just, oh, sorry, bud, no freight. Yeah, okay. I need a little more information than that. So whenever someone would answer with, well, you know, right now we're 50 loads short. It looks like you're number 5 in the queue. Hang out, and it's looking like we might have you something within 24 hours. That's a dude or gal, whatever these days, that I'm going to write down their information. For those of you at Swift, the way the Swift messaging system works, for those of you that aren't familiar with it, at the bottom of messages from planners and customer service reps, it has their messaging code for the system, their phone number, all sorts of stuff at the bottom there. When I find a person that's actually helpful, I write that stuff down, and they go in my little black book. Now, I mentioned Crystal, and I'm having a senior moment. South Carolina. Help me out, everybody. South Carolina terminal. Anyway, she's out of South Carolina. Anytime I'm over there, I just message her. I would message her and say, hey, Crystal, how's it going? I never started with, Crystal, what's freight like? Never do that. Say, hey, how's it going? I was just wondering, I'm in your area. How's things looking? And she would always get back to me. A lot of times with a stack. And the first load or two would be really, really crap loads. Like, man. But then the third one would come through. 1,000 miles. Okay, well, between all 3 loads, I'm at 1,800 miles for the week, and I dropped the last one on Monday. Okay. You know, you got to work those contacts. One of the things I'm learning here is that at Panther, your relationship with their planning team is king. It's a much smaller company. So I was asking them, so I'm used to Megacorp Swift, where it took me years to build a contact list and build relationships. How long do you think it'll take me here to do the same thing? Because I understand the power of relationships. And they have one guy that handles Rob's fleet on the Panther side. That's our go-to guy, apparently. And so I'm going to start with him tomorrow, actually. I actually have not put my truck in service yet because I'm here talking to you guys. So it'll go into service tomorrow. And I will start building the relationships I need to succeed over here. And that's the key, man. You know, every single carrier, James, I know you don't like Panther. How many people have failed at Swift and then tell you, James, you're an idiot for being at Swift? And yeah, I know that you're making good money. What's the difference? If I go to Swift, am I going to talk to the guy that just turned his truck in and said he wasn't making any money? Or am I going to talk to James, who's making money? I'm going to talk to James. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm talking to people that are making money, living good. I mean, as good as you can as a truck driver. Let's be real. And that's just the game, man. Play the game. We had a commenter the other day on Facebook. Well, that sounds too much like kissing butt, and I don't kiss butt. And I'm like, well, I guess you're going to fail then. I mean, in sales, we used to call it schmoozing. Same thing. Take an interest in the human being that you're talking to, because that's what they are. They are human beings. Treat them like such. And you would be amazed at how much more success you're going to find in life. Yeah, and Chris, yeah, love the people in Troutdale, but hate the communist state of Oregon. As you know, Chris, I am a refugee from that communist state of Oregon. We don't get into politics here, Chris. You know that. But yeah, so think of that. Chris learned about Oregon, though. That mileage tax is not a fuel tax. It's going to cost you money just for entering that state. It's a weird thing. Brian Jess says, find people who know more and have a good friend who will play the spoiler role for you. We all need that what if friend in our life. Greer, South Carolina, you're looking for. Yep, Greer. Really weird terminal to actually go to because it's hard to get in and out of most days. Although the last time I was there, I was able to park a tractor and trailer on their yard. How crazy is that? But yeah, you know, and again, burn ships, not bridges, guys. Burn ships, not business. When you're ready to make a move that's going to move you forward in your business or your life, by all means, burn those ships. Go all in. Give it all you got. Don't burn the bridge, though, because you never know. The few bridges I've actually burned in my life did not end up working well for me. You know, there's family that I don't talk to anymore because of things that were said between us, and that's never a good thing. There's business opportunities I've missed out on because I burned the bridge with the wrong people. And, you know, you get older, and here's the thing. I'm telling you about them right now, and I'm telling you it's a bad idea to do. Why? I learned. You know, whenever you make a mistake, a misstep, you backslide, as people say. Learn from it. A failure, the way most people think of failure, is not a failure if you learn something from it. You know, you look at the articles and books and things that were written by rich people, right? Most of them have gone bankrupt at one point in time or another. They weren't an immediate success. They didn't. I'll use Harvard Business School because it's famous and people think that it's fancy. People don't just go from Harvard Business School to making $10 million a year. They don't. It takes time. It takes a couple of falling down on your face and get back up. Point is, do you get back up, and did you learn from that experience? We're coming up on the 2-hour mark. Chris says, always direct message to your planner, and thank you for the load. They do appreciate it, and we'll often message you back. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that follow-up. Always follow up. Quite frankly, if you don't follow up, you're kind of a jerk. We'll just put that out there. And yes, Donna is headed to 8th grade graduation for our daughter, Rachel. She's excited and terrified all at the same time. She's going to high school next year. Big step for her. James Vaughn says his plan is he's got 4 more years he's done with Swift. He's going to retire as a farmer. Yeah. And if you guys have seen what he's up to in the chats, he's doing some pretty interesting things down there. Chris Hamilton says, congratulations to Rachel, graduating 8th grade. So, all right. So today was a little different. No Charlie, and I brought in somebody that wasn't a Swift guy. You're going to see that more and more, by the way. We're going to be bringing opportunities to the YouTubes when we find them, and hopefully we can get people to actually come on and talk about the opportunities that they have for us. Obviously, I cannot personally take every opportunity out there. I'm going to be focusing on this one, and I will be letting you guys know in the Facebook, social media, and all that stuff, how things go. we will see. If you guys want to start a betting pool with some people that think I'm going to fail in 2 months, go right ahead. I would bet on me. Chris, from one hard, thankless job to another. I don't know, man. He's doing that saffron thing. I think there's a lot of money in that, man. And if there's enough money of it, I really don't think that I care too much how thankless it is. I mean, you know, one of the things we're working on with our personal coaches, our personal coach that Charlie and I have, is, what do you want? What is your ideal self in 10 years? Visualize it. Think about it. This is the person I want to be, not the person you are, the person you want to be. So if I had to guess, James is really looking forward to spending more time with his family working his farm. Is that really a thankless job? I don't know. Ask James. Yeah, Wimpy, we know your opinion. Come on, man. Mr. Negativity. Give it 1 month. You might be surprised what I do in the next 30 days. So yeah, we're going to wrap it up here. If you guys have any other questions, comments, insults, Wimpy, get your insults in now, because it's going to be another week before you see me. I wouldn't want to leave you hanging. Thanks, Brian. He says, I bet on Jeff and I bet on myself as well. No time for doubters. I'm 52. I want to find my something. I want to find my way out of this thing we call work. Yep. And really, Chris, the second part is the biggest thing, and my wife will tell you that all day long. He says, Jeff will not fail. He's too focused and headstrong. I am one headstrong guy. This last economic downturn has been a big hit for us, but I refused to give up. The one in 2008, what they call the Great Recession, a lot of guys out of business. I survived out of sheer willpower at times. I've been sued, which caused a garnishment on my settlements from Swift, which they could not stop because I was not an S corp at the time. Went 3 months without a settlement, still survived, didn't give it up. So yeah, it's all about the mindset, people. It's all about the mindset. You know what? I'll take that, Wimpy. That's about the nicest thing you've ever said to me, and I appreciate it. Not really. I don't know Wimpy personally, but he's actually great for the show, because he'll call us out when the rest of you won't. I don't know. I will absolutely be doing the math. That's the whole point. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, see if I can push the right button. Again, so my message for the day, really, I'm so happy that I got Rob to come on, because, when a relationship is this new, it does take a lot of trust to come on a YouTube show and talk about your business. I'm happy with what I've learned so far from him, and I look forward to learning a lot more. But my big message is burn ships, not bridges. Burn ships, not bridges. I need to say that again because it's so important. Burn ships, not bridges. So when you make your move to better yourself, don't burn that bridge. You might want those relationships to continue for any number of reasons. So with that, I'm going to say peace out. Keep the rubber side down, and be safe, everybody.